For the video version of this podcast, please visit our YouTube channel, Daughters of the American Revolution, National Headquarters. Otherwise, please enjoy this audio podcast on your favorite streaming service.
I vividly remember being under the George Washington Bridge, and it's just this massive bridge and cars are going over me, and I was barely aware of what was happening because I'm just I'm cold, I'm tired, I haven't eaten, and I just want to be done with this.
I don't know about you, but I'm loving the content and potential of the Daughters online community, an online place for members from across the world to share ideas and resources. Well, this month we'll talk about this new place for DAR members. It's pretty amazing. Check out the website, look at the homepage. Did you know there's a link to the DAR Today podcast right there on that homepage? And under upcoming events, we're reminded that April is National Poetry Month and National Children's Literature Month. And thinking of literature, are you thoroughly enjoying the new format in our American Spirit magazine as much as I am? The DAR magazine truly sparkles with these recent changes and additions, while still, honestly, retaining the content that we've come to love and enjoy. And DAR members are doing truly spectacular things, of which their ancestors would be so proud. And I can't wait to share with you a glimpse into the life of one of our incredibly, truly aspirational members, Piestewa Peak Chapter member Erica Esterly. So sit back and enjoy all that our April episode has to offer and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to like and subscribe so as not to miss any of the fascinating content we have in store for you. Daughters of the American Revolution have demonstrated for 132 years our unwavering dedication and service by erecting and marking historical and commemorative events, by placing grave markers at locations where Revolutionary War soldiers, patriots, wives, daughters, and real daughters rest. To date, DAR has placed well over 177,000 of these markers. Yes, these endeavors speak to our mission of historic preservation and education within our communities. Ask yourself, when did you last visit that marker that the chapter or community established or dedicated 5, 10, 20, or even 50 years ago? As America's 250th birthday quickly approaches and spring is upon us, consider visiting these locations of distinction to ensure that our markers sparkle, that they're beautiful, and are in stellar condition. These markers provide essential education, enhance visitors' experiences, and preserve our country's history. They also allow us to partner with local communities to ensure the condition and appearance continue to be inviting and visually pleasing. What better way to show your pride in our beautiful and informative DAR historical markers than to provide some TLC to the ones that are a little dirty or need some minor repairs? National Marker Day was founded by the William G. Pomeroy Foundation in 2021. See their website for the history of the event, instructions for registering, planning, and participating in National Marker Day. While on that website, you will also find a list of Pomeroy markers in your area that may need attention. That website is wgpfoundation.org. And then visit the National Historic Marker Database page for more details. So grab some friends, your family, some fellow DAR members, and go out in your communities on April 28th, International Marker Day, to give some of these wonderful historic markers the love and attention they deserve. I'll see you out there. As I'm sure you've seen by now, we're interviewing all of the executive board members to get to know these incredibly fascinating women a little better. Be sure to stay tuned as we talk with Mrs. Horgan, our recording secretary general. We're speaking today with Lanabeth Lunceford Horgan, who's the recording secretary general during the Wright administration. Thank you so much, Mrs. Horgan, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Will you tell us a little bit about you and about your history?
Sure. I was born in Independence, Missouri, and I lived there till 18 and moved to Arizona, where I lived for 16 years. And I went to Arizona State and met my husband, who was born and raised in Norway. So it was kind of a mix. And so we had an opportunity through our business to move to France. And in 1990, we moved to Saint-Germain-en-Laye in France, and we were there 14 years. And for our business, once again, we came back to the States in 2004, and we moved to Lexington, Massachusetts. And at that time, I was not in DAR, but I knew that my mother and my grandmother had always told me we could be in DAR, and I always thought they were just, dreaming. And I paid attention, but I didn't. So when I ended up in Lexington, Massachusetts, it was a time of adjustment after being overseas. And so I thought, okay, well, we'll see if my mom and my grandmother were right, and they were so right. And they would be so pleased. And so my first patriot is Edward Boone, brother of Daniel. And I have a patriot who is a Crockett. My grandmother was a Crockett, so John Crockett. So yes, they were right. And that's how I came to be in DAR in 2006. And then in 2009, because of our business, once again, we moved to Bellevue, Washington, because we did a lot of work with Microsoft. And so I joined a wonderful chapter. They were very welcoming. And before I knew it, I was the regent of the chapter. So that's, in a nutshell, how I got involved in DAR.
And I think you had a wonderful mentor, too, didn't you, in DAR?
In Lexington, Massachusetts, there was a woman by the name of Shirley Lane. And she truly is iconic. She has passed away, but she was wonderful to me. So I did all my own research, which taught me a lot. So it took 2 years, which could have probably been shortened to about 4 months. But she would look at my proof and she would guide me through it. And she ended up typing up my application on her Underwood typewriter, and thrilled to be verified. And she is just a very special woman in a very special place.
That's so neat that you still honor her today.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about your duties as Recording Secretary General. I know they are many. What are some of your responsibilities?
Well, of course, everybody thinks of the minutes, and that's true. I do the minutes for when the executive committee meets. I do the minutes for the National Board of Management, and the minutes that will go into the proceedings after Congress. And the minutes are always for the National Board of Management. You will find them in the Daughter's newsletter if you take the magazine. And they're also posted online in the long form. So all the reports will be online as opposed to the magazine, which is a shorter form. The proceedings are done, and they are the reports, really everything that is said and done at Congress. And they take many months. So I have not started for mine. This will be my first time. But the past Secretary General has just finished. And so the proceedings will be coming out for the 131st Continental Congress in the next few weeks. I also am responsible for working on the National Information Packet. And if you're in DAR, you probably know what that is. So lots and lots of forms. And several other things, but those are the main things at the moment.
And speaking of Continental Congress, everybody has their process for getting ready for Congress. What is your prep for that?
Yes, well, I take the Congress schedule and kind of have an idea, although this year will be a bit different, of the events that I'll be attending, but that comes to close. So I have an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, I know. And so I have my events, and then I start putting in what outfits would be appropriate and the shoes, and making sure, and some of them because then you don't have to repeat. I know this is very detailed, but then you don't have to repeat the shoes. You know that those go to these outfits. Anyway, it's an Excel spreadsheet. Yes, I do that. I'm very, very organized when it comes to that. So I know exactly what I wear every day. And someone asked me once, well, what if you get up in a day and you're not going to wear that? I said, no, that doesn't happen. So if it's Tuesday, I wear whatever's on my schedule.
Exactly.
So,
Then you don't have to think
it's a process, but yeah, no, I don't.
Now, besides that Excel spreadsheet, would there be anything that's maybe a surprise for us to know about you?
Well, a couple. In my past life, many hundreds of years ago, I was a professional dancer. So I studied for many years, and I was in 2 dance troupes in Chicago. I had an agent at the time, and then I was in road shows, and comedy was what I was usually in. And then flash forward to when you're older and you no longer dance, and I had a trainer that was fabulous, and an interval training, and he asked me if I'd ever boxed, and I had not. And so he was wonderful, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. So twice a week I box, and he's a trainer. He is 6'5", and I'm not 5 feet, but he is wonderful and he manages it. But it really is, it's fun, wonderful exercise.
Well, thank you so much. It's so great to get to talk with you, to learn a little bit more about you personally, and to see what you're doing for us in DAR as Recording Secretary General. Thank you.
My pleasure and my honor. Thank you.
I got to sit down recently with a dear friend of mine, Kate Johanns, who's the National Chair of Public Relations and Media. And we had a great conversation about an exciting opportunity for daughters. So Kate Johanns, it's such a pleasure to get to talk to you today. And I can't wait to just dive right into this subject because I have been itching to talk to you about it, as I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear about the Daughters online community. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, absolutely, Brooke. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast to talk about this important and exciting initiative of the Wright administration. So the Daughters online community, as you have probably heard, all of our listeners, is an interactive online platform, kind of an old-fashioned message board, kind of Facebook-y, kind of like LinkedIn, kind of like Reddit, that is specifically and exclusively for members of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So it's a place where we can safely and securely interact with one another and share great ideas for making our chapters stronger and for helping us reach our goals as we pursue our mission of historic preservation, education, and patriotism.
I think you've had a lot of people signing up so far. About how many have signed up now?
Absolutely. So we launched February 21st, and in the very first month, we had more than 8,000 daughters log in and start their profiles, which is incredible. We obviously would love to double that number. We could set a goal of trying to double it by Continental Congress, which I just came up with right now. So you heard it here first.
Folks.
Right. You heard it here first on the DAR Today podcast. But yes, the Daughters online community, it's excellent. So one of the coolest things about it, I think, is that it is actually tied to the DAR membership database called e-membership. So the only people who can get in are people who have an e-membership account. And so it's super easy to sign in. The instructions are all on the website whenever you're ready to start out your experience in the Daughters online community. You just want to go to log into the members website, and you'll find in the top right corner, there is a link labeled community. Click on that. It will bump you right over to what some of us have affectionately started calling the DOC, as in What's Up Doc, but Daughters online community.
It sounds like such a neat opportunity to be able to share together with the DAR members. What was it that Mrs. Wright, of course, our President General, and her administration and our national officers, what was it that made them see this opportunity and decide on this particular opportunity?
I think that the genesis really came with we saw during the pandemic so much DAR activity on Facebook. And I think it was so much our lifeline during the pandemic. I don't think we would have reached more than 1 million handmade pieces of personal protective equipment if we'd not had Facebook. And I know it was such an incredible way for us all to stay connected during that very challenging time. But you can't have too much of a good thing. And one of the challenges with Facebook is that it was getting to the point that you almost had to have a Facebook account to be an active DAR member. And as we all know, Facebook, it carries some baggage with it. We'll just say that. And a lot of people are leaving Facebook or cutting down on their time. The executive team, they decided, the executive officers, that it was really important to have a more inclusive opportunity for daughters to connect with one another online. And so the decision was made to look for a private online community for that kind of membership engagement experience, where daughters can connect with each other, get to know each other, share ideas, all the things that were happening on Facebook, but in a single house or a single gated community. That's what one of the Public Relations and Media National Vice Chairs, Dee Willimson, that's what she calls it. She says it's like a gated community. Facebook's like the Wild West. The Daughters Online community is gated, and you've got one house here that's DAR Service for Veterans, and next door lives DAR Good Citizen, and you just pop on by to whichever communities you really like.
I love that you brought it up that way, because I was thinking too that truly is, each of these different committees in DAR. And when you went to Facebook and you wanted to see what was going on with Service to America or what was going on with Service for Veterans, you would go on those different pages. But here we have those communities now within the doc. And so it's all of that information, very easy to access. Every committee, right? Basically, almost every committee in DAR is now represented, I believe, right, on the doc?
That is correct. The standing committees and our special committee, America 250, the Congress committee is not as much. Obviously, that's a different type of committee, different opportunity. But one of the things that I like the best is, so I'm a state chair for America 250 in Texas, and I would see these amazing ideas that other chapters were doing in the former America 250 Facebook group. It was always hard for me to go back and find them, because I would scroll past it and the algorithm would move on, because Facebook's designed to keep showing you new content and advertising. Whereas in the community, all of those great resources are actually organized in neat little libraries that go with each committee. So it's super easy to find those resources that you really like.
That's pretty wonderful. I think we're all going to be a little surprised when we start to, because we're used to that algorithm. We're used to that pattern and having to deal with that. So I think to be able to go back in and go, oh, but it's still just right there. That's going to be a great change. So, and tell us, will DAR leave Facebook entirely though? Will that be a thing?
No, absolutely not. And Facebook is here to stay. And Facebook is, for better or worse, part of modern life. And I think, it really comes down to, are we looking to develop membership? Are we looking to engage our members? So membership development, that's like a billboard, that's public relations, external public relations. We have the DAR President General page that is really active and strong. Our national headquarters staff, they have several fabulous pages. There's one for the national headquarters. There's one for the museum. These are great follows, great ways to showcase what DAR is doing with the public. But the committees, those were private groups that were difficult to manage, because if someone quit being a DAR member, it was very difficult for the national chairs and vice chairs to go into Facebook and remove them. But those groups where we're engaging with existing members, that's what's moved to the community. There are still some unofficial groups on Facebook, and I think those are going to continue. The difference is that the groups on Facebook that continue, that are unofficial, there definitely is some great information in there. It just isn't moderated by a national chair. If you want the official word that is coming from moderated by a national chair and the committee, then you will look to the Daughters Online community. Like I said, there's going to be some really fun, engaging Facebook groups that are unofficial that continue and will continue. But the official word is in the Daughters Online community.
Now, with this Daughters Online community, is there anything new coming down the pipe that we can look forward to, or that will changes that we'll see within that system?
Absolutely. We aren't done yet. We launched in February with, I believe it was 43 national committees. Since launch, we just launched this week the President General's Project Committee, which I'm very excited about because there's some photos of daughters showing off the different ways they're wearing the beautiful pins and scarves that are available during the Wright administration. We also, the DAR Library Book Club just launched, and we are also launching what are called affinity groups or interest groups. And one of them that is going to be launched very soon, and actually by the time this podcast is published, will have been launched, it's a community for women who have adoption in their life story. They might be an adoptee themselves, they might have placed a child for adoption, or they may be helping do an application paper for someone who has adoption in her life story. And so that is actually going to be moderated by National Vice Chair Bonnie Matthews, who is an honorary state regent of New Jersey. And I'm very excited to launch that first interest group. So that's veering out of the committee structure a little bit. And we plan to launch some more of these types of affinity groups. We've had a lot of great ideas for them. There's more to come. We also will be adding officer-specific groups, officer roles that will be moderated by our executive officers. So, I mean, who better to learn about being a treasurer than from our Treasurer General, Dr. Sherry Edwards? So that's going to be a really exciting opportunity to engage with daughters from around the world, frankly.
That's a neat way to bring everybody basically inside each other's living rooms, right? We're all together. And I love that idea too, that you think of those units overseas and those daughters that are far away that might feel very remote and separate. And yet here we are all together. So what a neat opportunity.
I think one thing that I really am excited about is the chance for daughters who, for whatever reason, can't attend chapter meetings regularly. Maybe it's a work thing, maybe it's childcare, maybe it's elder care. We have some daughters who are homebound due to health issues. This is a way for them to connect with DAR really 24/7.
Now, with regard to Facebook, I know sometimes it's been a challenge. Some of the comments that get made, that get written, things like that. How are those situations being handled on the new Daughters Online community? Absolutely.
So one thing that I really like as a national chair, because in addition to having a role facilitating the overall community, my committee, Public Relations and Media, has its own community within the community. And so we have a team of moderators that are looking and kind of guiding the conversation. It's a self-moderation system. Any user can go on and mark a post as inappropriate for whatever reason. We've had very little of that in the 6 weeks that we've been open, which is great. But it's really nice because everybody there's really good dialogue on there. I have been thinking about this community for a really long time now. And I have to say that I have been blown away by the depth of the conversations that are occurring. It's much richer. And frankly, it feels a lot more productive than Facebook. And I think part of it was in Facebook, you're kind of flying by, you're scrolling, and there's just so much coming at you. And I think being in the Daughters Online community, you just have, there's more intention with it.
I was just thinking that same thing. It's an intentional dialogue about what we're doing in DAR.
Right. And I know some people that are big Facebook fans, they're hesitant to move over. They're like, I don't have time for another site in my life, that kind of thing. I would really encourage them to give it a chance. It is a different environment. Like I say, it's not Facebook exactly. It's not LinkedIn. It's not Reddit. It's the Daughters Online community. And it really is just a different environment. And so I encourage everyone to give it a chance. Even if you are a bit skeptical, come join me over there. Send me a contact request. Check it out. One thing that's really nice is you receive email updates at the pace and frequency that you choose, which can take a little bit of tweaking to get set up correctly, but you don't have to physically visit the community every day to stay up to date on what's being posted. You can scroll through the daily digest and go, wow, I really want to go comment on that. Or you can say, you know what? Nothing in here today for me, delete. I'll check it out tomorrow.
I think I'm looking forward to as well, seeing the conversations that start happening around the events for Continental Congress. And I think even those who aren't going to attend will find a lot of interesting and exciting information there about what is happening. So I'm pretty excited about where this is going to lead us and what this will look like next year. Maybe we can have another podcast segment in a year and we'll talk about what has changed, the new affinity groups that we have by then. Would you come back and visit us another time?
I would be happy to come back anytime, Brooke.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Kate. It's been great talking with you. I think for all of us, whenever there's a new website or piece of software that we need to learn, it's nice to have a few power tips or tech tips, if you will. And here to talk about a few of those is Deirdra Willimson, who's a National Vice Chair for this new online community. Deirdra?
Thanks, Brooke. Just like many of you, I'm a working professional, a busy mom, and a dedicated volunteer. So I'm always looking for life hacks and shortcuts to make my life easier. So in fact, that's really one of the things that I appreciate about the doc. One of the features that I enjoy is that it is that centralized one-stop shop for when I'm looking for something. The content's well organized instead of being fragmented across something that I have to scroll through in social media. So in the interest of helping our members out, I thought I'd share with you today some of my top power user tips. And my first tip is to use the search bar function. So if you're accessing the doc from your laptop, it's in the upper right-hand corner. But if you are using the doc on your phone, it's about in the middle of your screen. A search bar will help you get to either a topic or a community much faster. When you type in either of those, you'll get a return, and you'll also be able to see if it's listed in a blog, a library entry. You'll get a lot of filters to see different returns on your search. And my other power user tip is to kind of see the other tabs that are at the bottom of your home screen. If you're rushing out to a DAR meeting and you need to print out the President General's message or the National Defender, we have those quick links there for you. But also there where we have the latest threads, there's two other tabs. One's called Unanswered Posts and one is called My Communities. So in the unanswered posts, there may be a question that you can help another member out with. And then on the My Communities, that's just a quicker way to get to the communities that you already belong to. So speaking of questions, I want to make sure that our members also are aware of the help word up in the banner. We have some updated tutorials up there. And then there's also a way for you to contact us if there's something that we can help you with further. Thanks for your time.
And we have one more power tip from Korrie Tosh, who's the National Vice Chair, VIS Social Media Admin Support. Korrie?
My doc power user tip is to set up your community notifications to receive emails from the communities so that it fits your lifestyle and DAR responsibilities. For the committees that I have a responsibility or a specific interest in, I have chosen to receive the daily committee digest email. And for all the other committees that I joined, which ended up being all of them, are included in the DOC's NSDAR Daily Consolidated Digest. There's also a consolidated weekly option to choose from as well. Now when I have a few minutes during the day, I am able to quickly scroll through the digest to see what has been happening within the communities, and even respond to posts directly from the emails. I have learned so much about different national committees that I never knew before through these digests. You might be thinking that is a lot of emails to receive, and it can be, but I recommend setting up a filter so your inbox doesn't get overwhelmed. I have the doc emails filter into the forms category in my Gmail inbox, or you can set up a filter so the emails skip your inbox and go directly into a folder. If you're not sure how to change community notifications, check out the frequently asked questions and tutorials in the Doc Help tab.
I recently had the pleasure of meeting an incredible young woman, DAR member Erica Esterly. We like to frequently talk about amazing daughters on this podcast, and I think you'll understand why I became her biggest fan after this interview. Miss Esterly, a chapter member of the Piestewa Peak Chapter in Arizona, where her mother Rose is the regent, recently completed some incredibly grueling events. I asked her to tell us a little bit about her and these latest accomplishments.
So I got involved first. My mother was the first one to get involved and become a daughter. And then she's through her roles that she has at the Piestewa Peak Chapter, I as well got involved and then joined as a daughter recently in the past couple of years. And so the reason, I guess, the history behind my swims I completed, the first one I did was a double circumnavigation swim of Manhattan Island in August of 2022. And that one took me 19 hours and 49 minutes to swim. And the second swim I completed was Catalina Channel in California. So it's a swim from Catalina Channel back to Los Angeles. And I completed that in September of 2022.
When did you start swimming? When you were young?
So I started on a team when I was 5 years old. I began swimming in Philadelphia, where my family lived at the time, on the team. And as I grew up, I kind of discovered I really had a love for swimming in the ocean, swimming in rivers, any type of open water or rough water swimming, as it's called if it's in an ocean. So the first one I did was a 5K in Atlantic City in New Jersey. And I loved that experience. So from then on, I just started looking for any opportunity to do an open water swim. And then once we moved out to Arizona, I swam in all the lakes around where we lived.
Now, tell me, the one that you swam that was the first 5K, how old were you when that happened?
I believe, if I remember correctly, I was 12 or 13 years old, right around there.
What an amazing thing to do that at that young of an age. Do you look back now and wonder how you did it, or that it was like not a big deal at the time?
Yeah, I guess to me, it never really was daunting. It was definitely a new experience to start those types of swims because they were much longer than anything I swam in the pool. The longest event that I'd swim in the pool was about a mile. And even that was much longer than most of the other events. So doing my first 5K was definitely an experience because it was in, a new environment, like in the ocean, and I hadn't really ever swam for longer than a mile. But after I got out of the water, I loved it. And I knew from that point that I wanted to continue pursuing open water swims.
You were hooked at that point.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
Awesome. This 40 Bridges event that you swam. Will you tell us kind of the background of that before you talk about your own personal swim during this event?
The 40 Bridges event, the event started with the 20 Bridges swim, which was one circumnavigation around Manhattan Island. And I swam that in 2021. That is 28 miles, roughly 28 miles. And the reason it's called 20 Bridges is because as you swim, you start in one point in the Hudson River and you swim under all 20 bridges of Manhattan and then end up basically back where you start. And that is one of the most famous swims in open water swimming. It's part of what's called the Triple Crown, which consists of the English Channel, 20 Bridges and Catalina Channel. So that swim started with 20 Bridges. And then I guess a couple years ago, within the past maybe decade, people started venturing and attempting a double circumnavigation, which is 40 Bridges. So that's, I did the first 2 years ago, I did one lap. I really loved it. So this past year, I came back and did 2 laps.
That is an amazing thing. What prompted you to face this challenge? Because that is a huge personal challenge to you physically. What prompted that? Was there anything?
So when I started experimenting with open water swims in Arizona, I got really into it especially during when COVID happened, because we were quarantining. We had very limited access to swimming pools, and we weren't really able to compete in the pool or any of that. So I went and swam in the lakes to stay in shape. And so the first time that I had been doing like 3Ks, 4Ks, 5Ks in the lakes whenever there was a competition. The first time that I started doing like ultra marathon or longer marathon swims was my 18th birthday. My mom and I got together, and I wanted to do an 18,000 yard swim to celebrate. So one of the lakes near where I'm from, Lake Pleasant, we mapped out an 18,000 yard swim, and then packed snacks, kind of got together like a little plan. I designed the whole thing on my own, and my mom helped me out a lot. So she and my sister came out, and then I did that on my 18th birthday. So that was, 2020. And that swim took me 4.5 hours. So after I did that was the first time I had really ever swam for longer than an hour. And I really just absolutely loved that experience. So once I came to New York, I had heard about the 20 Bridges swim through one of my mentors, who she worked here at West Point, and she had done a ton of open water swims. She had done the English Channel. And once I heard about that swim, I just went ahead and did my own research online, applied. And then once I got into the swim, I was like, well, I guess this is what we're doing. So yeah, that was how I started that.
That's a great way to celebrate your 18th birthday.
Definitely.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to do the 40 Bridges? And tell us why that's kind of special, because didn't you did something kind of special with your time in regard to that swim, right?
I did. So 40 Bridges took me 19 hours and 49 minutes to swim. It's a consecutive swim. So I began around 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, and then ended up finishing right as the sun was rising, a couple of minutes before 6 a.m. on Friday morning. So that was by far the most grueling experience I've ever had. It was really long. I had planned out each of my feeds. So in open water swimming, you have to, there are certain rules about how you can ingest food or drink water in order to, keep your body fueled. So you can't hang on to a boat. But what they do is they have a system with the kayaker. I have a kayaker next to me while I'm doing the swim, and he or she will loop the bottle onto a piece of string and then throw it out to me in the water. So I had a whole plan about what I was going to eat and drink over the course of the almost 20 hours. But it kind of the whole plan went to shambles because I started throwing up about 7 hours in. And that was right as the sun was setting. And then I just continued throwing up throughout the night. So I wasn't really able to ingest any food or calories. It got really hard in the middle of the night when I didn't have any calories in me. And I vividly remember being under the George Washington Bridge, and it's just this massive bridge, and cars are going over me. And I was barely aware of what was happening, because I'm just I'm cold, I'm tired, I haven't eaten. And I was I just want to be done with this. But every time I start one of these swims, I accept the fact that it's going to be an extremely difficult, honestly miserable experience at some point, because of the factors of doing ultramarathon swims. Is something is going to go wrong or something is going to happen that I wasn't prepared for, whether it be, in that instance, my feeding gland, my stomach was just completely, turned upside down for the majority of the swim, or if the water gets cold, or if, something's going to happen that's I'm not going to be expecting. It's going to make the swim really difficult. And in those moments, I just have to tell myself, no matter what happens, quitting's not an option. So find a way to get through whatever it is that's making that experience really difficult for me.
That is amazing. I think in all the times we've talked as we've prepped for this interview, I have not heard that part of it. And I just, it's amazing that you were able to push through that, because that's what I was going to ask, is what do you do when you want to give up? How do you push through that? And I guess it's that preparation ahead of time, like you were saying, that's probably a major factor.
A lot of it is mental preparation and understanding what I'm getting into every time. And it's different for each of my swims. So for Manhattan, it was knowing that this is going to be really long. It's me against the clock, essentially, because you don't quite know what it's going to. I've never swam for 19 hours consecutively. So I didn't really know what that feeling was going to be, but I knew it was going to be really tough. And I didn't have any expectations really going into the swim. I was the nice thing about these swims is I don't really have to have a time goal like I do maybe in the pool. It's more just let's see how I can do, if hopefully I can finish. And so I did end up finishing, and I became the fastest woman to complete the swim and the youngest person by 15 years to complete the swim. So that was a pretty amazing feeling to get out of the water and see the sun rising. I got on the boat with my brother, and the first thing I did was eat 5 chocolate chip cookies because I was just so hungry.
The youngest person by 15 years to complete the swim, and the fastest swim. That is amazing. What a wonderful, wonderful accomplishment. Just amazing. I have chills right now just thinking about you and what you went through, to do it. It was actually a really big deal, and it took so much preparation and mental strength on your part. And so tell us about, is this a medal that you got for that swim?
So in the back, yes, this is the medal I have for finishing the 40 bridges swim. So it just says 40 bridges, 57 miles on it. So I don't know. I like to hang them up. They're just small, little trinkets, but when I see them, it's nice to remember the swim.
Absolutely. Well, because, and I don't think we've talked about yet, you are a cadet, right, at West Point. And so that's hanging there in your dorm. That's an amazing accomplishment to do all of that, Erica. What is your next challenge that is facing you?
So after I completed 40 bridges, I did Catalina Channel a month later, like I said. So that was the second swim of the Triple Crown challenge in open water swimming, is 20 bridges, Catalina Channel, and the English Channel. So Catalina Channel was my first experience in the ocean, which was a whole set of fears that I had to overcome. And so after doing that swim, I decided to more seriously look at other ocean swims. So my next venture, Lord willing, will be the English Channel next year.
Oh, interesting. And do you know how long that will take?
My goal would be between maybe 11 to 14 hours. But there's a lot that in an ocean, it's even more unpredictable. So the time that I was hoping to swim for Catalina Channel, I was a little bit off of that one, because when in the middle of, ocean currents and wildlife and all of that, there's a lot that you can't really predict. So I would like to be around 13 to 14 hours for the English Channel, but we'll see.
I love that you brought up wildlife, because I kind of wanted to bring that up. Do you encounter, what kind of wildlife have you encountered out there?
So in the ocean, when I swam 40 bridges, that was in the Hudson River into the Harlem River. So I didn't really see any wildlife then. But going into Catalina Channel, that was one of my biggest fears, was swimming in the ocean at night. And so I can't quite describe the fear that I had at 12 a.m. and there's 3,000 feet of water below me and it's just pitch black. That was really unnerving. I got a little bit freaked out. So I couldn't really see much during the night, but once the sun came up, I saw multiple times I would see like a whole school of fish swim underneath me. I was swimming and I saw like some dolphins leaping in front of me about like, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile out. So they weren't super close, but I was able to see them. And that was a really cool experience, because just like swimming through the fish, seeing the dolphins, it's like, it's very humbling to be reminded that this is not my space to be in the ocean. And so again, every time that I enter the river, the ocean, whatever it might be, a lake, it's important to go in with the mindset of whatever I see or whatever I encounter, this is their space. And so I'm just grateful that I can be in the ocean. And I'm always very thankful to see that when I'm swimming.
Yes, that's an amazing thing. As a Southern California daughter, I'll tell you, I know about the wildlife in those oceans. I've experienced it myself too. But I so appreciate the fact that you would take the time with me. And I know your incredibly busy schedule.
Absolutely.
And, even me today, this is what we have to do in our busy lives. I had to be in this beautiful Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard in this loud hotel lobby, and hoping it doesn't, make too much noise in the podcast. So anyway, but thank you so much for taking the time. I really have loved getting to know you, and thank you so much.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.
We leave you today with this quote by Mark Twain. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Well, thanks for listening, and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. This podcast was written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, but special gratitude is expressed today for our newest podcast team member, Laura Marriott, and then Cole Miller-Cohen, Chris Hertzleffler, and Sherry Stein. We are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance. To Lanabeth Horgan, to Kate Johanns, and Rose and Erica Esterly for being so generous with their time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a non-profit, non-political volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.